Hello. This is now the third part of the series, and I was getting a little bit flippant at the end of that video. But all I meant to say is that like where I live, someone had told me that I'm getting a little bit closer to having like an aesthetic where like playing my guitar and letting my hair grow. Where the only thing now that I need to pull off a look is to have a bandana. And I was saying that where I live, you can't just be flying any bandana on your head. As genuine as that person, man. But what I say is that maybe that would be cool if one day we could start wearing bandanas again, like the hippies showed us. And I think that the hippies, if you take the hippies, a lot of people take shots at the hippies, but if you take the hippies back in the time when they were influential, and then what was going on, and then if we appreciate what was going on back then as some of the outcomes and the realities of imperialism, but then going back deeper, just a simple gentrification that had been started all the way at the conquest of the world that has amounted to capitalism, that began with what could be called gentrification. And I think we can still say we have gentrification to the current day. But what the hippies showed us is getting back in touch with nature and with one another. That might be our last and only means of overcoming our own challenges in relating to one another, stemming from this expansive nature and consumption of resources. So I'm not saying that can be sidestepped or evaded on a day. If you manage to get up on a horse, you have to find a way to get up off of it in a way that you don't break your neck. So all I meant to say is that if we can actually be cool enough to start wearing bandanas around one another, like maybe like a tie-dye bandana, and we're good in anywhere we go with the bandana because we're actually being peaceful and loving, then we might actually start to get natural again. And so what I want to say is that all of us have been handed like some degree of a victory that has been ill won in capitalism and the benefits and privileges we enjoy. So what I want to say is that if we can find a way to humble ourselves and get in touch with one another and do things that are natural and fun, like when I was playing that guitar at the lake last summer, and I'm still waiting for the weather to get nice. And just finding different ways to be natural. Like some people say like overpopulated this, overpopulated that. Life is good, and each one of us who have managed to be born is beautiful, and there's something that nothing is lost in this universe. But the only way to get back to a natural state between ourselves and the environment is just to be more and more natural. And a lot of us might not know how to do that, but there are different people in different parts of the earth who still yet have a natural understanding of our relationship to the environment in a way that is proprietary and equitable. So I'd say maybe the best means of returning this earth to a healthy and equitable place as is yet possible would be when we're in the Americas. Let's let the people who have existed in the Americas long, still yet understand the land, have something to say about what's going on, and humble ourselves before them. So for me, that would be the Native Americans where I'm at. If you're in maybe if you're in Jamaica, what would the Rosses have to say about the land? If you're in Australia, what would the Aboriginals have to say about the land? If you're in Africa, what would the people of Africa have to say about the land? If you're in Europe, what would the people of Europe have to say about the land who still yet have some of the old traditions that haven't been completely confiscated or punished by the oversight bodies, the wise people of the land of Europe? What would they have to say about the land? That might be our best effort at getting back to equity with one another and a place worth living in. If we're going to have this kind of conversation, that's all I'm going to say. And it's going to have to require humility from all of us, cooperation and collaboration. That's the only way we're getting any kind of success and victory. And I don't think there's any value outside of the land. Wherever you're from, whatever you have, whatever you like, whatever's cool to you, it had something to do with the land at one point. So I just want to say that let's get back to the land, and let's humble ourselves around people who still yet have wisdom about that. The modern nothing of value should be thrown away. So some of our modern understandings about like engineering and fashioning our existence, it's not worthless. But still yet, I would say we would stand to gain something by deferring to the people who still have an understanding of the land. So like these books, and I don't mean this to appropriate or to associate with something that I'm not from. But I want to say this is a book called the Book of the Navajo. And I've always thought Navajo were cool because I grew up around a lot of Navajo people when I was young, and even as a kid, I knew they were dope when I was a kid, but yet I respect that I'm not from that culture. But all I meant to say is that there's a channel on YouTube called I think it's called Elder Navajo Teachings or Navajo Teachings, and that might be one place for anyone who rocks with this video to start in becoming familiar with some of the understanding and principles that our people of this land have had and are yet kind enough to share as they can afford or see fit on this channel called Navajo Teachings. And then I also had this one called Is India Civilized? And I've benefited immensely from the wisdom of India. A lot of that stemming from before the modern Western influence there. And so in that sense can be equated as going back to the land. And when I say going back to the land, that doesn't also mean getting away from civilization, because a lot of these different people like India, the United States, or the Americas, Africa, Europe, they have had many civilizations as great and greater than what we have now, as part coming in and out, because even those civilizations, they ebb and flow, because I think that's something that is inevitable, that cannot be, that's part of the universe itself, ebbs and flows and comes into and out of manifestation. It's the same with civilizations. So a lot of I'm not trying to say that we need to go past civilized, or that existing with the land is not somehow part of being civilized, because one could say that that's what real civilization is. But all I meant to say is that this book also, I haven't actually read this book yet, as much as I talk about Arthur Avalon and Sir John Woodrow, but apparently this is a book about a discussion about culture and India, and I would imagine that that's going to juxtapose like Western values and what's considered culture with what has existed there naturally with those people. So that would be an interesting discussion along the lines of this topic. And I just meant to say that I think that's really our best opportunity for happiness, success, and health, is to get somehow closer with the land and with one another as we can do so. But if someone had anything to say about that, it would be these people that are from this land and still yet honor and preserve their heritage and their understandings. And so like I'm a city slicker, so I'm really kind of talking. I got a lot of nerve making this video because there's a lot of people, even in the United States, that would from any background, that would know way more about the land than me. But I just wanted to shout out those people too. But I think we need to get back to the land, because that's where our real wealth is, and that's where our real happiness is. So respect and salute to you from all backgrounds. Civilized, uncivilized, we're human beings at the end of the day, and that's what real civilization is the bond and the collaboration between people. But with that, there's a lot of people that have a lot to say, but they're not always the loudest ones. So if we can humble ourselves and get back to them, that's our best look. Peace.